She dumped me with the words, "Never date a broke builder, know your worth." So I built a house with my bare hands, launched $1 million company, and watched her choke on her own regret. I was 28 when I met Rachel. I just moved to Austin, Texas, trying to restart my life after a few rough years. I was working construction, foundation work mostly, sometimes framing if the crew was short. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and kept me grounded. I liked the rhythm of it. Pouring concrete, measuring twice, cutting once. There's something honest about building something with your hands. Rachel didn't see it that way. We met at a bar on South Congress. She was with friends, dressed like she belonged in a magazine. I was just grabbing a beer after work, still in my dusty boots and a shirt that smelled like rebar and sweat. I don't know why she talked to me. Maybe it was the contrast. Maybe she liked the idea of someone who didn't care about appearances. We talked for an hour and I walked her to her car. She gave me her number. For a while things were good. She worked in marketing for a tech startup. She had a nice apartment, drove a leased BMW, and talked about brand strategy like it was poetry. I didn't understand half of it, but I listened. I told her about my job, about the way concrete settles, about the guys on my crew who'd been doing this for 20 years and still couldn't afford health insurance. She'd nod, but I could tell she didn't really get it. That was fine. I didn't expect her to. We dated for about 6 months. I never moved in, but I spent most nights at her place. She liked that I was grounded, she said, that I didn't play games. But slowly things started to shift. She'd make comments, little things, like asking if I'd ever thought about going back to school, or suggesting I were something less rugged when we went out. I didn't mind at first. I figured she wanted me to fit into her world a little better, but it started to feel like she was embarrassed of me. One night, we were at a party thrown by one of her coworkers. Everyone there was dressed like they were auditioning for a Netflix show. I stood out. I knew it. I tried to stay quiet, sip my drink, and not draw attention. But someone asked what I did, and when I said I worked construction, there was this pause. Just a beat too long. Then a polite nod. Rachel didn't say anything, but I saw her face. She looked away. After that, she started pulling back. Less texting, fewer invites. I asked her if something was wrong, and she said she was just busy. I knew what that meant. I'd seen it before. A few weeks later, she ended it. No big fight, no drama. Just a message saying she didn't think we were compatible long-term. I didn't argue. Just said okay. I didn't hear from her for a while. I went back to work, kept my head down. Started taking on side jobs, remodels, small builds. I was trying to save up to buy a plot of land outside the city. I had a plan. Build my own house piece by piece. I didn't need much. Just space, quiet, and something that was mine. Then, out of nowhere, she texted me. It was late, almost midnight. I hadn't heard from her in months. The message said, "Never date a broke builder. Know your worth." That was it. No context, no explanation. Just that. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't reply. I don't know why she sent it. Maybe she was drunk. Maybe she was angry. Maybe someone had asked about me, and she felt the need to justify her choice. But it stuck with me. Not because it hurt, though it did, but because it was so final. Like she'd reduced me to a stereotype. A broke builder. Nothing more. I thought about that message every day for weeks. It echoed in my head while I was hauling lumber, while I was mixing mortar, while I was sketching out plans for my future house. I didn't tell anyone about it. Not my crew, not my brother, not even my mom. I just carried it. But something shifted in me after that. I stopped trying to prove anything to anyone. I stopped caring about how I looked to people like Rachel. I focused on my work. I started waking up earlier, taking on more jobs, learning new skills. I taught myself CD software so I could design better layouts. I watched tutorials on plumbing, electrical, roofing. I wanted to be able to build a house from the ground up without hiring anyone. By the end of that year, I'd saved enough to buy the land. 2 acres just outside Bastrop. Wooded, quiet, with a slight slope that was perfect for drainage. I spent every weekend out there, clearing brush, marking boundaries, planning the foundation. I didn't rush it. I wanted it done right. I built the house over the next 18 months. Alone. Every nail, every beam, every tile, I placed them myself. I made mistakes, sure. Had to redo the plumbing twice. But I learned. I got better. And when it was done, I stood in the living room, surrounded by cedar walls and polished concrete floors, and I felt something I'd never felt before. Not the kind you show off. The quiet kind. The kind that sits in your chest and makes you feel solid. I didn't post pictures. I didn't invite people over. I just lived there. I'd wake up to birds, drink coffee on the porch, and drive into town for work. I started my own company, small at first. Just me and a truck. But word spread. People liked my work. I hired 2 guys, then 4. We specialized in custom builds. No cookie-cutter stuff. Everything unique. Everything personal. I never heard from Rachel again. But I kept that message. Not out of spite. Just as a reminder. It's saved in my phone, buried in a folder I never open. Sometimes I think about deleting it. But I don't. Because it marked a turning point. Not because she was wrong, but because she was right in a way. I was broke. I was a builder. But that didn't mean I wasn't worth something. It just meant I hadn't shown it yet. 2 years after I finished the house, things had changed more than I ever expected. My company had grown. We were doing 6 to 8 custom builds a year, all high-end, all word of mouth. I never advertised. I didn't need to. People came to us because they wanted something different, something that felt real. I hired a designer to help with layouts, a project manager to keep things tight, and a bookkeeper to handle the numbers. I still worked on site most days. I couldn't stand the idea of sitting in an office while someone else did the building. I'd built a reputation. Not just for quality, but for being the guy who didn't cut corners. The guy who showed up early, stayed late, and made sure every detail was right. Clients respected that. They'd invite me to dinner, send me holiday cards, refer me to their friends. I wasn't just a builder anymore. I was a name. And I'd done it without compromising who I was. One afternoon, I was at a coffee shop in East Austin, waiting for a meeting with a client. I was early as usual. I grabbed a seat by the window and started reviewing plans on my tablet. That's when I saw her, Rachel. She walked in with a guy in a tailored suit. They looked polished, like they just stepped out of a showroom. She didn't see me at first. I watched her order, laugh at something he said, and sit down at a table across the room. I didn't feel anything sharp. No anger, no bitterness. Just a quiet curiosity. I wondered if she changed. If she was happy. If she still thought about that message she sent. I didn't plan to say anything. I figured it was better to leave the past where it was. But then she looked up and saw me. Her face froze for a second. Then she smiled, tight, polite, and walked over. "Hey," she said. "It's been a while." I nodded. "Yeah, it has." She glanced at my tablet, then at my boots. "Still building?" "Still building," I said. "Got my own company now." She raised her eyebrows. "Really? That's impressive." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. She stood there for a moment, like she wanted to say more. Then she just nodded and walked back to her table. I watched her talk to the guy, her smile a little more forced now. I finished my coffee and left. That night, I thought about her again. Not because I missed her. I didn't. But because I realized something. That message she sent, it wasn't really about me. It was about her. Her fear, her expectations, her need to fit into a world that valued polish over substance. I was just the mirror that showed her something she didn't want to see. I kept building. I bought another plot of land, started designing a second home. Not for me, for resale. I wanted to test a new layout, something modular but warm. I started mentoring younger guys in the trade. Taught them how to read blueprints, how to bid jobs, how to talk to clients without sounding desperate. I told them the truth, that people will underestimate you if you don't wear the right clothes, drive the right car, say the right things. But that doesn't mean you're worth less. It just means you have to show them differently. One of those guys, Marcus, reminded me of myself. Quiet, focused, always asking questions. He dropped out of college, worked 2 jobs, and still showed up early every day. I saw potential in him. I gave him more responsibility, let him lead a few projects. He didn't disappoint. A year later, he came to me with an idea. He wanted to start his own company. I helped him set it up. Gave him contacts, lent him tools, even passed him a few clients. Some people might call that competition. I didn't. I called it legacy. I never chased status. I never tried to prove anything to people like Rachel. But I built something that mattered. Something that lasted. And in the end, that was enough. Sometimes, late at night, I sit on the porch of the house I built and think about the journey. About the concrete I poured, the beams I raised, the mistakes I made. I think about that message. Never date a broke builder. Know your worth. And I smile. Because I do know my worth now. And it's not measured in money, or clothes, or cars. It's measured in what I've built. In the lives I've touched. In the quiet pride that comes from doing things the hard way and doing them right. I never replied to Rachel's message. I never needed to. My life became the answer. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this.